This is what you call coming to the job when a crane can't get in, but you find your neighbor who's got a tractor who can set these trusses, hopefully.
In this video, I'm going to show you how we're going to set trusses in this garage. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This show's all about building your own house, saving a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get notification every time I release a new video, and hammer that like button for me. That's all I ask in return for making this video. So I know you guys that's been following my channel have noticed I've been in my regular house working most of the time, but in today's video, I'm on my dad's job and we're gonna do something a little different. Typically, we have a crane come out and help set the trusses, but he has a friend that's gonna come up with a tractor and we're gonna try something a little different. Let's get started.
Good morning. We're here on the job getting ready to do some truss setting. It's colder than the dickens, but we're gonna make the best of it.
What temperature is it right now?
It was 11 a little bit ago. It's probably up to 15, 16 degrees.
Before we get started here, I just want to show you a rough idea of what's going on here. So we got hurricane ties every 2 foot on center going this way on this wall and this way on this wall. So these trusses are going to lay from this wall to this wall going clear across. And we're going to start here with these strong backs. That's going to support the first gable truss. And then over here on this side of the garage, it's going to go a little different. So these are going to lay the other way. These are going to lay from this wall over to this wall. So we're going to have to build a valley in the center here after these trusses are set, but that's for a whole other video. So I put a poll on my community tab and I found out that most people have not set trusses before. A lot have, but not everybody. So this is what this video is going to help get you a little idea of how it works. So what's going on here is he's going to lift this first gable truss into place. We already have the overhangs nailed onto it, and these are called strong backs, and they're going to hold the first gable truss in place. Yep, go ahead and drop it some. Okay, so I have a nailer right here and this truss is sitting right up against it. The sheathing's overlapping it. All right, so what we got going on here is this truss, as you can see, is sitting right here on top of this wall, and the sheathing is flush with the other wall sheathing. So now we got to get the overhang the same on this side. So his overhang down there where my dad is needs to be the same as over here. So now that the truss is sitting where it needs to be, we got to go through and nail these strong backs off. And typically I'd have an extra 2x4 running the other way, so that way it's like an L shape, it's a little stronger, but Gerald prefers this way on this little garage. That's fine. And what we're going to do is make sure we put nails in each one of those and in the sheathing and onto that nailer that's behind this gable truss, so that way it's secured before we take the boom off from the top of the truss. This is our nailer here that's already set before the truss comes in, and the truss is going to nail to that, and that also acts as a drywall nailer on the inside of the house. And also after we get a couple going here, we're going to put braces to brace this first one because this is going to be holding most of the roof until we get sheathing on. So this is our layout, and as you can see there's a little frost on the wall, but this is the hurricane tie that's going to be used just to butt the truss up. Then we're going to toe nail it into the wood, then nail the hurricane tie off after all the trusses are set. Something really important to do is run a string line on one side, and that's going to be used as our straight line to run the trusses. And he likes to just go with the actual measurement of 10.5 inches on this, in this case for the overhang, but what I like to do is go an extra inch and use my tape measure and measure back. But that's what he likes to do, and that's fine. It works different for everybody. So what we do so we don't have to measure each truss is cut blocks 25.5 inches long, pre-start nails in them, so that way we can just go up as high as we can on the truss and nail it, and then it's going to space the trusses apart evenly. So if we take a look up here, we got those block spacing in between each truss, and they're nailed flush on the edges, as you can see here. Let me zoom up for you. And it's flush there, and it's flush on this side. And we also have a diagonal brace started here to keep everything plumb as we run. And then this board in the middle, we have our spacing. So we nailed this on first to get our spacing. Then we went diagonal after we plumbed up this gable truss, and now everything should be running roughly plumb. So our setup here is we got Fred, he's the tagline guy. He just controls the truss as it's being boomed around by our driver here. And this is our makeshift tractor with a boom on it. It's not the most professional piece of equipment, but it's doing the job well. We usually get a crane when we do this, but This is definitely a DIY type setup. And like I said, this is Gerald, which is my dad's personal property here. So what I'm doing now is waiting for Dad on the other side to get it in line with his string line. Then once he does, I just toenail a nail on one side of the truss, then on the other. I know, I'm thinking like as a thumbnail, getting your boom, holding the truss up kind of like here, like a very dramatic looking picture, you know? Fred went ahead and tacked the 25.5-inch blocks down while they're on the ground, and what I'm doing now is sneaking over to them and then pushing the truss out until the block is flush with the edge of the truss, and then I'm just driving those 2 nails that are in the end of the boards. And then what I do is I unhook the chain off the top of the truss while I am there, and then he is going to get the boom out of the way and move on to the next truss. The last truss you set is just like the very first one you set, except it's in reverse as far as bracing. So what we're going to do is just lift up this gable truss and slide it behind the block. So you can see the block to the left of me there. And then my dad on the other side has a block that he's going to get the truss behind as well. And then we're going to shift it right down in between the nailer and those blocks. And it's going to kind of wedge and keep it into place. After we got nails on each end, just like we did the other trusses, I'm going to go up in the peak here, and I just tacked a board there just to hold it temporarily. Now my dad's handing me up a brace here because I need to do extra bracing while I'm up there. And also Fred's going to hand me the level because I need to plumb up this gable truss before I brace it all the way, because it's very critical to do it now before you have to wrestle with it later. So this pile of trusses is going on the other side of the garage, and I wanted to show you this here real quick. So if you look, these ends here are all painted blue. That is so you know that all the blue go on one side, and then if we go down here, this side has no paint on it at all. So we know all these go together. And also if you look here, if you look at the truss plans, they're all going to be labeled TO1, DO2, TO3. So as you can see here, all these are the identical trusses because they're all TO1s. So this is the side Dad was running off the string line, and as you can see, it turned out really nice and straight. And if you look up the plane of the roof, you can see everything lines up really nice. So it's hard to tell off the ground, but it all looks rough. But when you get up here, it all looks really nice and ready to go. Also, you'll notice we always run our overhangs a little longer than these, and that's because we got our fascia board that's going to come across them but right into here, and then we'll take a sawzall or circular saw and then cut it off. So essentially this is going to have the same overhang as this. So as far as nailing goes, as you can see, we toenail on one side and we also put a toenail on the other. And then after the roof sheathing's on and the roof is on, then we'll come back through with a metal strap nailer and nail a small metal strap nail in each one of those holes on the hurricane ties. What do you think? How do you think it's going so far?
It's great. Yes. Seen stuff that I ain't never seen before.
I wanted to throw this clip in here to show you that there's another method you can use instead of using 25.5-inch blocks that a lot of people do. Is they'll just nail a 2x4 clear across from truss to truss on top. And then what you got to do is slide your truss under this 2x4, and then you got to put the layout on it as you go. And we don't do this as often, but in this case, on this side of the garage, it actually worked out better. So I just wanted to illustrate that there's another method instead of using the 25.5-inch blocks. As you see, after that truss is secured, I'll go ahead and pull the layout and mark it on top of the 2x4, so that way it's already laid out and ready to go for the next truss. If you need to know how to build the ladders on the gable ends of the house while the truss is on the ground, be sure to check out this video in the top right hand corner of the screen. That's me going in detail on doing that. So this is what it looks like on the inside of here. As you can see, we have the elevated ceiling so we can pull in equipment. So this side over here, when we started running the trusses this way, what we did is we went ahead and braced it towards these trusses here. So we got a brace going right across, and that's how we started our first one here. And then we just ran them over to the end here. And then what we did as far as our string line is we actually started right here, put our string line on our first truss, and then we set our gable truss over here. Then we ran the string line from this truss to this truss, and then we used that as a straight edge. And if we look down through here, that looks really nice. And that marking goes towards the road, as you can see. So the road comes up into here, and that is going to be facing that. And over here, we're still going to brace this before we leave. And back around this side, as you can see, it looks really nice too. And obviously we got to put fascia and tie everything in. We started setting the trusses around 8:45 and we got done around 1. And if you need to know how to install sheathing on the roof, check this video out in the bottom corner of the screen.